Hello. Welcome to another broadcast. I'm Dan Lutz, and this is our broadcast on GCR, the Big Lie, the Manna World Holding Trust, the QAnon, everything to do with what's going on in today's world that we should be paying attention to and get active in doing things in. So thank you for joining us. We have a lot of information always happening, and this is not one of those other days where I woke up late, half an hour before the broadcast. Sometimes happens. End up awake in the middle of the night for getting some things done apparently, and then I end up oversleeping in the morning. So and I did reach out to Tank and ask for if he has a particular topic, and there's nothing in particular we're going to cover, so we're just going to jump into some of the things. I'll do kind of a recap. Maybe for me, it's a Monday morning. For a lot of people, it's Sunday evening, and so I think maybe it's a good idea to allow people to come on and talk and things like that. I also want to say I just had a friend of mine who is from Koshai. It's an island of the Micronesia chain of islands. So Micronesia is also kind of a U.S. protectorate that is, their contracts and everything have been completed, and he just asked me how to get involved with recognition of sovereignty for Koshai. So anyway, he may be watching right now. I told him that it's on my YouTube broadcast. It's just about to start, so we'll talk more. I've worked closely with Lino Talley for I guess over a year in the TBC community. He's also spends half of the time in Hawaii, and when I was in Hawaii over a year ago, February of 2018, he was there, and we ended up meeting, and we actually did a couple of things together. So anyway, welcome him to understand what's going on here, to catch up with those things that we've been talking about with Fiji. And I basically laid out to him, I said, Fiji is on the move. They are seizing control of their government, and seizing might be I don't know if that's the correct word, but they're staying up and having their chiefs control the military. The government, as they've been describing, has been, let's say, trying to grab land and things like that, and they going back in and say, listen, Yeah, this is not your role. So looks like they're going to do some restructuring. They were organizing strikes and things like that to let everyone know that there's going to be a change, and then they're going to publicly accept sovereignty from Kim and accept the funds in their central bank for their people from the Manna World Holding Trust. So this is a very big step for that to be done publicly. And so, Lino, if you're watching right now, this is a brief of what's going on. But we've got I don't know 45 days of straight broadcasts. I don't have the actual count, but something like that, where we've been discussing this, and Tui Lomi has come onto the broadcast and has been spearheading this in Fiji. And he's also talking with a bunch of the other chiefs around the world. And I just passed Lino's information to. I sent the Telegram contact information for Tumi to Lino, so he can reach out to Tui. And I'll do the other way around, but I just didn't have enough time to get to get on the broadcast here. Now, let's see. Thank you. You've also joined in. Hello. How are you today?
I am wonderful. With excitement and life here, and watching all the various narratives play out in public, and the debacle that is the U.S. government right now as they scramble to try to justify on one side the craziness. I love that President Trump is going to take the immigrants to come across the border and put them in sanctuary cities, right? It's like, imagine the novelty of actually taking something that they're claiming is for those very people and using it for that reason. I mean, it's almost like words actually mean what they mean.
Yeah, strange, but but in the same time, he's doing it in such a manner to troll them, to goat them into their hysterical responses of hypocrisy, right? Or the NIMBY effect, not in my backyard, right? Nancy doesn't want it down on her street, right? And that's where they should set up, a tent distribution center for the migrants is outside her house. All of the other people who have come out for it, there should be a tents and food and everything given out to them, to help them, establish themselves a place right there. So obviously it's they want them there.
She hopped the fence with some of her crew there, and they were camping out, in the yard before they were forcibly removed, which doesn't quite make sense.
Oh, really?
It's like,
it really happened. Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, that really happened. Yeah, Laura Loomer did that. Yeah, Laura, she's got some good ideas. I like Laura Loomer too. She's people are always trying to create divide over one thing or another, but everything I've seen her say has been solid. Very, very solid. Yeah, so I mean, all this the antics that are playing out are very entertaining. Very, very entertaining. This whole thing now. There's this report that came out, and I'm not sure where it was, but it was talking about that Nixon befriended President Trump, and that Nixon was given the actual formula for free energy, right? How to extract, energy from the etheric field before he was attacked, right? That's how the story was going. And how it was President Trump's uncle who actually went to Tesla's apartment and gathered the information, like, the files,
right,
towards the end of Tesla's life to organize his research. And so he knew what he had, and I thought, wow, what a fascinating connection, right? What a fascinating connection, because and I guess Nixon explained to Trump from what was being alleged in this report, that he explained all the powers and the forces behind the scene that were really in control.
Yeah, well, it's about shifting and manifesting a new reality, and Trump is basically there manifesting a new reality where the deep state is gone.
You know what else is awesome about Trump? I gotta say, he's fun. I'm sorry, he's just good, clean fun, right? Because he's doing all this, and I have to say, like, his like sharp commentary and like statements, it's hilarious. I mean, it's such a joke, and it has to be a joke, because if not, it would be a tragedy, right? But if we really point out how pathetic, I mean, who is representing the deep state right now? Who is your big gun? I mean, the one that you're like, wow, here's someone that really is a force to be reckoned with. I mean, who is it? No one. They don't have an ambassador.
There isn't anyone. And I think it was Greg Gumpford. I caught his show on Fox yesterday, and he was saying that look, we got Trump, right, and he's very entertainment. He's like over like he's like the guy that you'd be hanging out with, because he's a lot of fun, right, to hang out with, right? And so he's like, there with us, blow by blow, doing these things. So who does a Democrat have? Everything they have on their side is very boring, right? So
well,
like,
Alexander, that's why they tried to freshen things up, right? With like, Alexandria Ocasio, right? Or sorry, Cortez. She
Cortez,
right? And the Ilhan Omar, right? But it's like they tried to find people that were appealing and attractive, and and could speak well, right? That's exactly what they targeted. But I think that Cortez, right, is waking up to realize that she's being used as a pawn. So all the Democrats are, like, she's out of control. She's out of control because your whole system is bullshit. I mean, the whole thing is a scam.
Yeah, well, they advertise in the Craigslist for people to fill the acting roles that they want them to fill, right? So, here, this is your script for the next 4 years,
right? And I can just picture them like preparing her for the scene, each and every scene, right? Like, okay, you're a very successful and prominent up and coming congresswoman. Here's what you're gonna do. You're a bad girl from the Bronx, and you're here to make things right. It's like, hey, guess what? This is playing out on a live stage. Just FYI, this is really happening.
Well, I want to point out something I caught also on Blaze TV with Glenn Beck, and I recall this from when he was on Fox. He had done this very big presentation of like all this information, and he's getting it out. And he said that the communists and the Islamists would come together, right, and then unite so they can defeat capitalism, right? I guess is the short form, or America, defeat America. And then I saw him yesterday. He put up, Crazio's and Omar's photos to fit those roles, right? Here, see, look, they've come together, and now their purpose is this, right? And that, so it's scripted, and I guess Glenn just happened to have some of the pickup on this ahead of time and showed it years ago, even 5 years ago. He showed what was going on, and so it's happening now. This is part of their plan, and they are executing their plan. No matter, even Hillary lost, they continue. They can't stop. It's in there. They are robots. They have to continue with what the plan is. Even if the emperor, the Dark Emperor, has passed, George Bush Sr., and so they haven't found the new Grand Dragon. I'm sorry, Black Dragon. I mean, Grand might be appropriate too, but to replace him for them to all fall in line. And then who's appointing? Who is appointing the Black Dragon? Do you know?
It's funny. I started to ask that question to Kim the other day, and we got on another topic. Because I keep trying to understand, well, who's above these guys, right?
Or
So I know.
did the Kim appoint a Nancy and then?
I don't know. I mean, because
I mean, if
technically,
she did, very
according
good
to their
job.
according to their order, she would be, according to their order, the order of their operation. She is their boss. She's the head of their order,
Yeah.
right? She's the top of everything. So
So,
they're just
I congratulate her on picking Kim. I mean, for Kim to pick Nancy because that was a perfect, job. Because obviously Nancy can't do anything.
yeah. I think Nancy is great for us. I mean, um,
That's why
I
Trump
mean,
Trump was you say, oh, great, she's going to be the the Speaker of the
I mean,
House. Yeah,
like, can't you just see like someone showing up to like Chuck Schumer's house and he was like wearing lipstick and like plotting a super crime and like laughing like some evil. I mean, there's never been
like the
anyone better
Joker.
cast in humanity than Chuck Schumer as a supervillain. I mean
Yeah.
mediocre villain at best. I mean,
There was
he's
he had a casting call. It was just decades ago.
yeah.
You know,
My fellow Americans. I mean, like, ooh, like you make that sound like a dirty thing. Like that guy is not good. Yeah,
yeah,
he
that's a
represents us
simple
here.
way of putting it. Yeah, it's not good.
He's not good.
Oh yeah. So anyway, sorry to kind of divert that, but just saying that Glenn Beck had pulled up and put out this old thing that he had said and said, look, here they're doing it. It's happening right now. See, this is part of their plan, and they just keep executing their plan. And and even if Glenn Beck can figure it out 5 years ago, don't you think military intelligence with advanced algorithms and predictive algorithms could kind of like lay out the plan on all the stuff that's happening in the Q movement?
Oh
This is
yeah, come on. This is what I keep trying to say with the. I mean, look, I don't know any intel that's that rampant and that popular. I'm telling you, it's being sculpted somewhere if they're still in control. You know, I I believe that Q could get away with it. If the Q is really has to do with the quantum system systematically releasing information that it knows because it is an all-encompassing mapping system and it is planned out and understands what human behavior will spark a response that will wake them up from these trances. I do believe that's possible. I do believe that's possible. And if that's not what it is, maybe there is a rogue element in there um, that's working for us. I know there is elements in there in the cabinet and various other places that are working for us. I know that's true. And I'm very much, very much an advocate of that. And I can very much appreciate that President Trump is surrounded on all sides by vipers, and he is, and I have some pretty amazing inside information from years and years and years ago about President Trump meeting with someone um, who had some predictive abilities and told him that he was going to be. I mean, and you have lots of cases of like this over time of predictions with President Trump becoming president, right? So I do believe that he was, definitely. I didn't used to believe that, but I do believe that he's known about the plan, been part of it. You know,
well, the only question is whether or not they also had time travel uh, info passed on by Tesla to Trump's uncle, and they've been using time travel to actually outmaneuver the deep state.
well, the CIA has a whole secret time travel division. It's pretty well. I mean, this is established as a fact. And there is I forget what this gentleman's name is, but he came out with he wrote a book in 2005, and it had something to do with, you know, like the environment or something, right? And he was speaking in 1975, and these uh, four men in black showed up at his conference, and he could feel that they were different, and they were outside of things, and they were holding his book that he wrote in 2005. Whatever it was, 30 years later.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And he describes the whole thing, right? And then later he was actually somewhat involved. And there's a few cases of the CIA time travel programs, and every now and again you'll start to and what's funny though is that time is not just linear, right? All possibilities are happening at all times. So you have multiple timelines taking place all the time. So, but there is a previously thought of to be the only option of these catastrophic timelines that they're always talking about now. And when these time travelers come back, they're coming from a future where the catastrophic timeline took place, right? They're like, there's going to be disaster. There's going to be, World War III. There's going to be, the banking system is going to completely change. Money won't matter, all those kind of things, which, that could just be part of the psyops that they're perpetuating, right? Or it could be that's one reality. That's the same reality that you hear, like Corey Good was down in Hawaii this weekend, and Shilea was at his conference was saying like he was still talking about this catastrophic timeline, that you need to prepare yourself. Wilcox, all these like guys that are allowed to kind of have an audience, it's because they're getting this fourth dimensional perspective, and this dimensional perspective is very limited. It only sees the absolute kind of warmongering victory, right? This is how you win. But if you just come up a little bit higher, you just come up a little bit higher, you're able to look down on that. That doesn't even seem like that's not even a possibility. So the catastrophic timeline, is still, I guess, an option for that people can create in their own consciousness, but it doesn't exist in my world at all. and as far as I'm concerned, the stronger collective of united by love, it is so much more powerful. Thousands of times more powerful than the one powered by hate, and fear. Love is effortless. You know, you never get exhausted from being in love. You never get exhausted from loving too much, or you can't love your kids too much, or you love your spouse too much, or love your mom too much, right? Or your dad. You just can't, and you never get tired of it either. It comforts you. It gives you strength, right? So imagine an energy source so powerful that not only does it help you accomplish what you want to accomplish, but it actually gives you energy and rejuvenates in the process. So I don't see how they could possibly beat us. Meaning, not that I haven't considered every possible option, by the way, because I have. I'm just saying they can't. It's just impossible.
Yeah. So. Let me interrupt for a moment. I just because I'm kind of keeping tabs on our chat as I go by, and I will say I have banned someone just about 10 minutes ago, and obviously a negative influence. But then I noticed another side notice. Someone was there saying that they don't trust Glenn Beck. And I just want to make a comment about that. Now, I was watching Glenn Beck on Fox a lot, and I really enjoyed that. And I saw how he started his own thing and was forced out of Fox, and he was forced out of Fox. I really don't think that was something that was that he's controlled opposition. And I know I'd watch InfoWars at the same time, and so I heard both sides, both of them duking out which one was the CIA, shill, which one was it? And I can go back to one thing that really I have to use as a guiding post for myself, and only for myself, is that Glenn Beck had put on a Independence Day event in Utah, where it was presenting it was called The Man in the Moon, and he completed the story of the Man in the Moon of a book that he had found. And when this presentation was supposed to start, right, it was a few day event, and so on the day that the show was going to be on about Man in the Moon, I had my tickets. I actually even paid the way for a good friend of mine who is so liberal that it was like, but he was brave enough to come there, right, and experience it. So I give him that. But anyway, we had set this thing up, and it was a great event, and I was there. And then the morning of this show, it started to pour down rain. It wasn't a little bit. this was like a heavy downpour. And we're all having breakfast at this place, and about 2 hours before we're supposed to be at the gates for the gates to open. And everyone said, well, obviously they're not going to continue. It's an outdoor presentation, so they can't have this presentation during this downpour. And you look at the weather says it's going to be rainy all day. And I said, no, we're going to go. So we literally got there to where, the parking lot. And just as we park, the rain stopped. It literally just, and we got out of the car and walking towards the gates, the clouds parted, right? And so like it was like a beam of sun straight through, burst through, and hit only over this stadium.
It was like Glenn Beckstock.
I mean, this was amazing, just that. But then there was a double rainbow. I took a picture of it. I think I posted it on my Facebook way back then. And so, considering, everything that was going on at that time, I was heavily involved in developing of what I call Personami, which is a social networking e-commerce platform using biometric identities to track everybody, and everyone owned their own data. So all my programmers are in Utah, so I was spending a lot of time there, and there was other things happening with Glenn Beck at the time, and listen, I was still watching Alex Jones. I have dropped Alex Jones completely. Not that I didn't find him entertaining or that there's good information there. Is that I really now, when I have to put it head to head, the evidence is showing that Alex Jones is the controlled opposition, along with David Steele, right? And others that are participating in that psyop. That's the way I see it. I dropped it completely. So in regards to Glenn Beck, though I do not watch him as much as I used to, I do, tune in here and there to catch what's going on there. And I think everything he's doing there is legitimate. I think he is the real thing. That's me. But a double rainbow for me is enough to know that was something that was special was happening that day. And everyone at that event said the same thing. Everyone saw the double rainbow, and to see that the storms were there. Now we were all imagining that Obama was at the weather machine, right? Pushing the button, rain.
Like the Wizard of Oz, yeah.
Yeah. Why is it not raining there, right? But that's enough for me, the double rainbow. So I trusted Glenn Beck since then. I just didn't know about Alex Jones, and I know some very people that will defend Alex Jones forever, right? And that's okay. But for me, I now won't look at Alex Jones for anything. Infowars is the battle is over, the war is lost. He doesn't have my attention, so I'm going to put my attention towards things that are going to bring about abundance for everybody, and that's why we're doing a broadcast. That's why we're doing what we're doing here. And then to have these amazing things happen anyway. So sorry for this little sideline, but I thought I'd bring this up because
not a sideline. I think it's a great story. Very appropriate.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Anyway, so what were we talking about? Oh yeah, it's Trump and all the good things that are kind of manifesting from Trump and from his uncle and. Maybe even the time traveling devices in the and the book that was written that has Trump's child's name in it as the president.
Right.
Can you think that there might be a dynasty forming here?
Not a dynasty. I just think that it's something that they planted the seed because they looked into the looking glass mapping technology, which has been around for a lot longer than people realize, and they were able to identify certain things.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know, I saw
Into the seed.
something.
That's a good way of putting it.
I even look at like Ilhan Omar, right? And I love this this I don't know who he is actually, but he's some Arab guy that I picked up to follow one time, and and he says some pretty controversial things from time to time that I'm hesitant to post, but I'm always intrigued by his perspective, right? And one of the things he said Ilhan Omar is being honest. She doesn't believe in American values. She doesn't like America,
Right.
right? The liars are Pelosi. And I'm like, wow, that's so true, right? It's so true. But it's something that's so obvious. It's out there, right? That's true. That is what's happening. So it's like they hired these people that fit the role they thought would be the solution. But remember, they don't have a head anymore. So the one who was the mastermind behind pulling their strings is gone. So they don't have a plan. So they're a bunch of middle management trying to come up with bad ideas of things they've done before, right? And and they're not working. The more they do, the worse they look. But now herein lies the problem: is that there's still a control mechanism because the mainstream media has been complicit in promoting these false agendas, and there's plenty of blackmail information on them. So they continue to perpetuate this ignorance. So the only way to overcome that long term really is we have to build up networks that rival that, right? And we have to take those over for the people.
Right.
And we have, and what I would say is it'll take some time, but I'd say probably take at least 5 years that you could have those operate completely without any concern for advertising.
You
Because the
know,
reason why the FCC has power is because the advertising, right?
right.
And if you take away advertising and a network was funded completely by grant funds with the best interest of the people providing the truth, and being able because people need to understand what's actually happening in the world, and there isn't a source for the truth out there, right? There
Well,
really isn't.
the things that we're talking about are more about news and what's actually happening than the talking points that you get repeated on every channel from the mainstream media. Whether it's newspapers, radio, or they don't really have a presence on radio, but or TV, uh, all of it is the same information that's regurgitated in word for word. I don't know how they manage to get them to say things word for word. I mean, almost like paragraph by paragraph, except paragraphs are too long. It's only bullet points, right? And they just put that out there compared to the information we're presenting. You and we're providing a lot of different content, but we are the news. Part of it, one of the other themes of the Q movement is we are the news, and
Absolutely.
that's why it's important for us and everyone else watching for you to go ahead and do a broadcast. So I have broadcaster training, believe it or not, that I've done on. It was mostly because of the TBC community, but we would train people to do their own live broadcasts and to. That's how to get the word out. So literally, if you do what we're doing, even though we're being shadow banned, when you get out there and do it, you're not, because you're just new to it. They'll get to you later.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But
while
I,
you've done
I
it,
totally agree. I totally agree, by the way, because the goal is to accomplish is to get the message out, right?
no,
So vanity is what takes people down all the time, right? So it's like, no, no, no. We want our faces out there, our information. We want to be the ones to say it. Well, that would in this case could defeat the mission, right? If that's where we get caught up. So I love what you're saying because I totally agree. Go out and find other channels to put the information out. Get the truth out there the best you can. And you know what? You can rip off every word verbatim that we say, and you can use it for your own self, and we'll never come after you for any copyright violation. You can use it freely. Go
yeah,
for it.
yeah, please
Because
do. Just if you need to, play what we say in the background and then discuss it, perfect. Just put it on on a screen on your computer, and you do a broadcast and talk about, or even if you're just putting your face side by side and talking, that's okay too. It's you getting the information out is what's important. Believe me, there's a lot of people that don't have any clue as to what we're talking about. And we're so far into the neon red pill spectrum, that they can't even. It's so neon red that they can't even see it. It's blinding to them. So if you could give them a small little pink pill to get started, that would be the way to go. So,
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this too. In the vein of transmutation, right? Of transmutation being the idea that take something that is, well, to put it this way, something that is negative and you turn it into something that is positive. Let's say, right? You're transmuting the energy into something different. Um, I remember about 4 years ago when I first started kind of speaking, hardly at all. I mean, it was like in a chat room, and lo and behold, they ran a smear piece on me from this hack website that I won't even repeat what it is, because there's such a group of CIA operatives that are completely unimaginative, and all they do is just anything you say, they try to kill it, right? And
that's why I banned that guy.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like it doesn't even. It's like, come on, like you guys aren't even imaginative. You're not even creative. You're not even intelligent in what you're saying, right? You're just saying no. Whatever we say, you say no. It's not, right? That's all they do. So they put this smear campaign out on me, right? They put this stupid video, and they basically hacked my Facebook, put my home address there, my full name, my phone number, a picture with me with my children, all these things out there. It really put us in danger. And at the time it was so new to me. I'm like, what the heck just happened? Like I was just in a chat room, like I hadn't even been on a call yet. And so when they did that, so after that, I had been demolished. I'd been run out of business, and I went to an interview. And when I was in the interview, and everything in the interview was going great, they clearly are considering hiring me very seriously. And all of a sudden they go, "So who is Tank? Tell us about that." I was like, "Oh, you got to be kidding!" So they made it so I couldn't really go work anywhere else, right? Because every place I would go, they knew Tank. It was the first thing that came up for years. The first thing that came up was this silly video it had, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, like, so the Tank persona has not always served me, right? Per se. So lo and behold,
You didn't
I
say that. You didn't say that. Well, that's a military device that they use in times of war.
yeah, I'm like, I'm not sure what you're talking about. No, I I've never been one to hide. I wasn't ashamed of what I was saying or doing. They just corrupted and made it look like something else. So lo and behold, today I was there's this there's a house that I'm trying to buy, right? And I really need the money that I need to be able to pay for the house, right? And I thought, 3 weeks ago, I thought I'd be able to do that, right? It was a modest, like $800,000, nothing big, nothing like insane or anything, right? But like a house in New York, what would typically cost, right? And so I told the owners that my goal was to pay for it in cash, and I talked to him about it, and he was a military veteran, so that was like 3 weeks ago. So they were kind of twisted, right? Like, what's going on? So I had to talk to him today, and I'm thinking, this is gonna be rough. So he gets his brother on the line, and we start talking, and they go, "Listen, we're a couple of guys that are, we're in the know, we're woke," is what they said, right? And they said, and it seems to us that you're on the inside of some information and really trying to change things, and we want to know if that's true, if that's you. So we ended up talking for 3 hours, right, about
That's a
all the
normal
things going on.
conversation, obviously.
What'd you say?
That's a normal conversation, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, for me it is. But it was pretty amazing. So something that 4 years ago demolished me. Today I saw that energy completely transmuted, where I was able to talk to these guys and really listen to them, and the same information I've been putting out, just because of the consistency and the integrity of it, they recognize the value of it. They recognize the reality of what's going on, and it actually helped me for the first time so far. So hey, I feel like we're in a better place. We're in a better place.
And I think so too. I've listen, the information that has come to me, in so many different ways, my whole life, is I know that 99.9% of the people on the planet don't ever get exposed to. None of it. None of it. Not even a shadow of it. Other than maybe they might think, yes, I saw a sci-fi film that would talk about these things. So for us to get the confirmation face to face with people along the way.
Yeah.
I mean, if even when I talk about just an example, Skunk Works.
Yeah.
More people don't even know that exists, right? Because it's a secret underground facility, right? And then if you explain to them even the size of it and the scope of it, and if they could even grasp that, then to tell them that they have massive underground cities that they've built at the same scale as
Right.
No, they draw the line. But if you want to then show like, well, here's a Jesse Ventura videotaping all the trucks carrying foodstuffs and other kind of goods into the mountain, right? Truck after
Right.
truck. Where are these things going, right? Hundreds every day.
Right.
Where is this stuff going to, right? The trucks are going in and bringing all of this stuff in there. And then, if he follows in behind him, they swarm in around him. So people can wake up with this information, but it's very shocking to them. And then they start digging in, and it takes time. The small pink pill before they get to the red pill. And then they take the work their way up to the neon red pill. To really grasp it. I tell people, I ever see Stargate SG-1?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all true.
Yeah. The guy that came out.
I think I'm nuts.
Simon Parks, I think, said that was a documentary. The whole series on Atlantis is a documentary. It's all real.
Yeah, Atlantis and even a universe, and this is really a disclosure, and they even say so in one or two of the episodes, right, where they actually show, black hole extreme or something. I forgot what they called it, but it was like a takeoff on these guys. It's like a TV show on their TV show about them doing a show just like they were doing. So even that was part of that disclosure. Come on, you have a reptilian creature that takes possession of people, gives them glowing eyes, and it's from ancient Egypt, and we looked up at them as gods. You just start there before you get into the five, races that came together, and formed this alliance against the Goa'uld. So.
Yep.
They even have like the one of the gods that's taking up the Chinese side, or of this, and then you have the ones that are taking up the Egyptian sides, and one are taking up the Mayan sides. So they're all everything is spelled out there with some poetic license, but it's not very much poetic license, So if you try to say to people that the stories in there are really just telling you what's really going on, it is so hard to really absorb that if you have, only looked at it as, sci-fi, an imaginative, environment. It can't. Yeah, there was Egyptian gods. Okay, yeah, they'll say, yeah, of course, had Egyptian gods. But to say that they were, from another planet and all no. They can't go there. But if they've watched Ancient Aliens, okay, and follow David Wilcox, then you actually have, them opening up to that. Now, as you know, for them to start to be able to see something like that, but to see at the depth of what we're discussing here, we're really talking about things that are, that we're involved in the interplanetary struggle, right? For
Yeah.
ownership over the planet. And it's been that way for a long time. And just that we were not allowed to know because we're just the chickens on the ranch. You don't
Yep.
explain the politics to the chickens. Well, most of the people.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Can I get your opinion? Cluck, 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 cluck.
Right. Yep. No, it's true. And I'll tell you, it's amazing because in the scope of human history, in my opinion, um, this is the most important time in human history. This is the transition. This is the peaceful transfer of power. Now, the way that they had the structure of the peaceful transfer of power was really from west to east, right? It was to from the dragon families of the west, the black dragons, to the Chinese dragon families of the east, right? And that's why we've spent the past, all of my life pretty much, past 40 years, um, creating American villains, showing our immaturity and lifting up, all of these the incredible values of, Chinese culture, which, and both of those things have some truth to them. So I'm not, I don't want to completely denounce that, but to portray Americans, and essentially they've successfully um, created this illusion that Americans should be ashamed of who they are.
Right. Definitely.
I saw this today. I saw this woman who actually is funny. This woman she grabbed a MAGA hat off this guy, right? And the guy filmed the whole thing, and she's storming around, and she goes into the I don't even know what it was, some campaign or something, right? Storms in there, and she hands it. He's wearing this, and this, and she said, "This is a symbol of genocide." And I'm like, "What? How on earth is it possible that making America great again, always, right,
Make
is
America great always. Make America.
always right? How is that a symbol of genocide, right? So, but that's the rhetoric that's been, promoted, that this is a symbol that's sparking. So, you know what I did immediately? I re I retweeted it with a comment, challenging that and stating that, listen, to anyone who thinks this way, you have been programmed, right? And there's triggers, and one of those triggers are these hats. And I posted the link so they could go and buy a blue MAGA hat. So thank you, Dan, for that suggestion. So I had
Yeah.
that tool in my arsenal.
It's something I think is awesome. I when it came into me, I said, "Oh, that's amazing." Yeah, so that would be perfect because I know they didn't want to give up MAGA, right? Because it's such a really great, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it really is great. So, but I look at these things, and it's funny because I really do think this with Cortez, right? She's it's unfortunate, like I don't doubt that she's not a bad person. She's not fit to lead, but
No,
neither is anybody else really in the government. So, um, but
she's
she
just
was
a pawn. She's just a
she
pawn.
but she's obviously, they're trying to educate her apparently on the ways of the cabal, and she's not catching on what's happening. I just don't think she can believe it. So I'm sure they must have told her, that these whenever they show the towers being hit, how the towers being hit is a trigger, right? Now, we know that anybody versed in that conspiracy realizes that the towers were taken down. It was a planned demolition, right? And it was a planned demolition created and caused by the Bush cartel with the Obamas, and everybody of prominence was involved, right? They were all part of it. It was a big hit, and it was a big, it was Joachim and Boaz, right? The two pillars that are in the Solomon's temple, right? And they created this massive focus for the entire population, right? So it was a massive satanic ritual, really, where all of us are focused on this one devastating sacrifice, so to speak, right? And it was never about Osama bin Laden. And if it was about Osama bin Laden, why didn't they go after Osama bin Laden, right? Why did they immediately start to come up with a way to go and attack Iraq, right? So I remember I was bartending at the time, and I remember every single television would have the towers, and it was such a heavy vibe in New York. It was so tragic. And my roommate at the time, she worked for a medical supply company, and she was telling me how they were running out of body bags, right? Because there was so many bodies. But in reality, it wasn't. It was because every single body part they had to bag individually, right? And it was such a just a tragic, dark time, right? And they celebrated this time, right? They used it to reinforce and launch their martial law everywhere. And they made all the New Yorkers afraid, right? They were like, if you see something, say something, right? Which in and of itself sounds great. It sounds great. The problem is then you have people walking around and they're always scared of everyone around them, right? And anybody
Right.
leaves a bag, now it's like they're a terrorist, right?
Yeah.
And then they would
So it's to
reinforce
create
that
fear.
reality.
Yeah, definitely, it's all about creating fear, and
Mhm.
it is sorcery or magic, and they've used this, and it was actually multidimensional, and it's actually to expand into multiple dimensions as a trigger point, but also as a center point to launch new timelines. And
Yes.
and that's its major power, and why it was the lead up and everything was so coordinated. But when you look back and see Building 7 following later, and 20 minutes after the BBC announced that it's doing, the BBC had the information ahead of time. How did they have the information ahead of time?
Yep.
So,
And that's, I mean, that is absolutely part of it. Now, what people don't talk about as much, right, is right during that same time, as they were launching this, martial law and all this fear-based stuff, you had the Clinton Foundation establish their headquarters in Harlem, right? So when they came into Harlem, they went on an all-out attack, right? And they had, justifiable cause to profile everyone. So any young, black male in Harlem, which is the majority of the population, were being targeted for everything they did, and they had the militarized, police force, obviously gassed up in fear, and they were mad, right, looking for justice because they lost a lot of guys, and they were just picking up young black men all the time for anything. And these guys are, a lot of them are still serving time for first time offenses. That's why that law that was passed in December was such a big deal. It basically said that non-violent first time offenses should not have an excessive punishment of you know uh,
yeah,
extra time, right?
yeah.
And I
Okay.
go ahead.
I was just saying that's one of those major fronts is uh, the how do you say the the I don't even know how to say that, the making a business out of doing prisons, right? There was
Right.
another major front to take on, because if it's about that, it's all about profit then, right? It's not about
Yep.
correction. It shouldn't be about profit to anybody.
Anybody who knows, I mean, always been about profit. The entire system is
Yeah, the whole
designed
system is
so
about
that when you come out, yeah, you can never thrive. It's designed, go make a better way and go about your life. It's never been designed that way. It's always been designed so that you can't get out of the system and you'll go back in. And you'll go back in, and three strikes and you're out. And you could have three strikes for stealing food for your family, and you'll go back to prison for life. I mean, the whole system, and they want to keep you in the system, and they want to break you in the system. They want to. It's very, very, very very abusive, the entire system. Matter of fact, I have a friend's father. He had a one-time drug charge. They wanted him to, rat out the source of where the supplies were coming from, but they would have killed his family. So what choice does that man have? Right? He can't say anything. So instead of charging him for one felony, they charge him for two. First time ever. Never had a criminal record. Had a history like giving to the poor and the elderly. I mean, like, and he was really is a good man still. And this man they put him in prison for 30 years. First time nonviolent offense. All he did was pull him over. So when you think about man, like things are it's just such the system has been designed for us to fail. So in this, the reason why this transition is so important is we get this one shot to redesign it, right? To design a system that allows, enables, encourages, empowers humanity to thrive. And this is the opportunity. So everybody listening to this call, I consider you part of this transitional movement. Everybody who sees it later on, I expect you to know you are part of this transitional movement. And I expect people to take responsibility for it. And what I mean by that is because you don't have the right to do nothing, right? And I compare it to, anybody who knows a child is being molested or abused. You don't get to ignore it because it's not politically correct to interfere with other people's business. I'm sorry, you don't. You are obligated. You are obligated to say something. Now that's true of teachers, right? They have that obligation. So do police officers and firemen, but all of us really have that obligation because you are obligated to take action. It's just the way it is. And you could have gone through your life ignoring it, but you didn't. And because you didn't, you are obligated to find a way to be part of the change. And whatever that is for you, and that's going to be different for everyone.
Well, yeah, sorry. I need to get kick this cough. It's really still hanging on there. But I want to change the subject just a little bit. Just because I'm in the chat here, someone is saying, "Yeah, can you? It's a midlife housewife life." Tanker Dan, can you please put to rest the Judy Byington report? And no, I know the name because I know that's out of the the GCR crowd, right? And I heard the report, but I don't know anything about Judy at all, or who is Judy, or what why she makes a report. You want to say anything about that? You know?
I'm looking it up right now. I have no idea what that is. I mean, I know who Judy. I mean, I've heard. I'm like you. I've heard the name. But if there's a report today, I'll look at it right now, and I'll let you know. It shouldn't be hard. I mean, usually these things are kind of,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I know it's like a weekly report. I know that. I really don't know too much about who is there, but I see actually one of my mentors, you might say, for doing broadcasts, if you can believe it or not, is Gary Larrabee.
No kidding. Okay.
I watch him. I said, and I love when he was talking about the GCR, and he was reading Judy Byington's report, right? And so I know it from there, but I don't know where he got the report. I don't know if he knows Judy. I don't know any about that. But Gary was kind of an inspiration. I said, if he can get on there and do a broadcast, I can definitely do it.
Yeah, this is true.
So, but it's so if Gary can do it, you can do it, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure he just starts with something, reading other people's information. And a lot of the people that are on the Cube movement, they're just reading stories that are on the internet. Why? Because there's nothing in the news. But the one thing that we have, there used to be this journalistic, idea, is that you wouldn't give opinion mixed in with news. And that's something that has disappeared from the whole world of mainstream media. Everything is about opinion, and it's not even news; it's talking points and talking points of, and they basically have conversation, opinion about the talking points. There's absolutely no news in the news. Even when I was first started back in, I was like 20, I think 22 years old when I first time went to India. All the newspapers there were so refreshing. They were all in English. That's the one benefit that India had from being ruled by the British, was they had the English language as a common language. Everything was written out in English, so the newspaper was all in English. So I could read their newspapers, and they were filled with wonderful news stories. Compared to what I was reading was the LA Times. I said,
Right.
one can go into the bird cage, right? As that's the only good use for it. Other than the movies, when to see what time the movie was coming up in the movie times, or maybe the classified sections. But beyond that, these news stories were so stupid. Oh, anyway, but yeah,
So
sorry.
I have this. I mean, this is a very, very easy thing to, put to rest. I guess what someone asked us to do, right?
Yeah.
So I can throw this out there quickly. So Judy Byington's report, she says Zim redemption notification and receipt of 800 numbers for currency exchangers to set up appointments at special redemption exchange centers and negotiate for higher rates, which is the program response, which I know very well, was expected sometime over the weekend and at least by Monday, April 15th.
At least.
At least by then, which was the start date for Tier 5, which is a new made up tier, the general public, to
I'm
exchange
on tier
banks.
79.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, how do we put this to rest? It didn't happen. It's not going to happen. Um, I know actually, I knew a guy who received 800 numbers one time from the FBI that we had called thousands of times waiting for them to activate. They kept us at bay doing that for 3 weeks. I had received 800 numbers myself one time that I called for 2 weeks waiting for them to activate. They never did. That whole agenda is never going to happen. It is not physically possible. It is not economically viable for the Zim to redeem at a rate of even $1 or even a penny, to be honest. It's not even feasible because it would crash the economy. You know what? I actually, Dan, I have some bullet points I put together. I'm gonna help everybody out today, and I'm gonna share this with everybody. And you can post this here in just a second. But basically, I'm going to map out the plan for anyone listening, so that you can rest assured that you have the answers for what is taking place. If anybody challenges you as to how can you walk away from the RV, I'm going to give you the piece and the tools to do that right now. So I'm going to
Okay.
read them to you, and then I'll send them to Dan. Okay. So here is the plan. Someone asked me today about the GCR, right? And why isn't it going to happen? And they probably had a little bit of a attitude about it. So
Okay.
these,
This is the GCR for the big lie segment.
right.
Okay.
But it's paramount because this is key to everything else. Because they also asked about Jasara and Nasara. They're like, why can't that happen? Okay, so here is the plan, play by play. So all of those things are part of an agenda by the order, right? So in order, this is how they go. First, the plan is devalue the U.S. dollar. Now this happened over time already, but then the way that you send the final blow is you flood the economy with massive amounts of low valued currency without a production line to demand it. In other words, you have the exchanges take place and you give everybody big US dollars, huge amounts, massive, more money than exists, right? You give them all this money and it doesn't have anything backing it, but you pretend it does, right? You say it does because you're basing it on the alleged in ground assets of Zimbabwe. However, Zimbabwe doesn't actually own those assets, so they can't even back their own currency. They certainly can't back a gazillion dollars in, you know, inflated 100 T notes. It's not possible. They don't have the assets. Even if they did take all their in-ground assets, they don't have it. They can't back it. So you create the lie that it's backed, and everybody comes in for exchanges, right? And they go and they have this. And then what happens is you now have a flood of money into the economy, and it crashes the value of the U.S. dollar. All right. So this would force if the U.S. dollar crashed because the U.S. dollar is pegged to 156 or 36 countries, and then it affects 180 countries they use it on a regular daily basis. It would crash the world's economy overnight. Not only would it crash the world's economy, it would be a crash that is 100 times worse than the Great Depression because it would affect everybody on every level. Every amount of savings you had would immediately be rendered useless. All of your assets would your debts wouldn't change, right? But everything would crash overnight. Banks would crash, corporations would crash, business would crash. It would destroy everything. So because you have this massive crash, you'd have a global crisis that would be terrible. Now, this is what they want, right? They want a global crisis because this would be the catalyst, right? Now, when I say these things, you'll realize they're already in place, right? But this would be the catalyst that would activate and trigger the urgency of everything else, right? Because it's easy to ignore something like, if global warming was real, which it's not. Okay, that's not real. That's a fabricated data, as Dan has already talked about. It's fabricated information. So if that were real, that would be a much more urgent struggle, right? Like if Cortez was right, we only had 12 years, before we'd all die, right? If that were real, that would be a much more urgent concern if there was no money and nobody could do anything. It would be so that's one. Another one would be a fake alien invasion, right? So think of how they've indoctrinated everyone, right? How many movies do you see about alien life forms that are positive? Rarely. Usually, when there's some kind of aliens here on the planet, it's because they're here to invade and kill us and eat us, and all those things. So they'd have some kind of fake alien invasion that they would create with various holographic images or just bombs or whatever. They wouldn't even have to do that. They could just blow us up with jets and then take the video footage and make it look like aliens, right? So that's another part of it. And another part is the Islamic takeover, right? So you take this perverted version of Islamic values, right? Because Islamic people in and of themselves are not bad people, right? Necessarily, but they have been completely infiltrated and converted into basically a militant oppositional force, right? Believes that they have to take down the infidel, right? Which we are the infidel. It's the same way that the Kabbalah or the Talmud talks about Gentiles as being less than human, right? So that justifies them hating us. And then Christians can hate both of them because neither one of them are Christians. So, Christians pretty much have authority to hate them too. So now you have all of these different versions of religions, everyone fighting against each other. And now, but now you have an economy that is now your enemy. So because the economy is your enemy, aliens are invading, then the next thing you do is you release a disease that is now rampant, right? Now Ebola is something that becomes out of control. There's a zombie virus, all these things. So now the whole world is sick, and there's a fight, and everybody's blaming someone else, right? Some different religious group, different political groups. All these different things are happening, but we have this massive enemy of disease and the environment and the economy. And all three of these are enemies that every human being can get behind to fight against, right? So we all come together behind the hate, right, and preservation, right, self-preservation. And so we're happy just to survive. So this is all part of the plan. This is the real plan. Okay, so the deep state would then move in. They capitalize on the global panic, right? So while it's a global panic, everybody's going crazy. The people who designed the panic, they're calm as can be. Well, one, because they're rich and they're prepared for this. They knew this was coming because they set it off, right?
Right,
so
and they're
they come
in.
in. Yeah, right. They're in New Zealand. So they come in and they say, "Oh, ye the masses, you poor feeble-minded fools, let us come to the rescue again, and let us give you an option to save the day. We will buy back everything from you. for pennies on the dollar, mind you, right? But not even pennies on the dollar. They will use a unbacked, useless digital currency. But to do this right, because you people have messed up everything with all your ways and the way you've hurt the environment, you people, and they blame it all on us, right? So every one of us, our nature is to just take responsibility. So we all take the responsibility. It's all our fault. Oh my gosh, what did I do? So we all, now the whole world's in chaos, and now they blame it on the people. But luckily, the Rothschilds and the various dragon families, they come in and they say, here is cryptocurrency. We'll use cryptocurrency, but the only thing is you have to allow us to benevolently manage the entire financial system. And by us managing it, then we can keep your poor, stupid, feeble minded selves out of trouble because we have a master plan. We understand how to do it. And now by doing that, they have successfully implemented the New World Order. And in that, they give you a pittance to survive on because you've shown that you're a savage. You can't handle real money. You don't know what to do with it. So we're going to give you universal income, right? Universal income will give you just enough for the basic necessities, right? You'll be able to pay your bills and your house, and you will stay in your place, and you will not contribute or hurt anything else. Then, while this is happening, they declare global martial law. Global martial law comes in, and to maintain order while the transition is taking place, the United Nations has the authority to take over any government's military in the entire world. So the United Nations comes in, they take over everybody's military, and now the United Nations is one massive military, and being part of that military means you can shoot to kill at will because there is diseases that are spread so rampant and they're communicable, right? So you might have to kill some people because to save humanity, right? And you convince all the soldiers that's what's happening. You might have to kill these people because they are carrying a communicable disease, and if you have to put down your mom, you better do it because she could infect everybody else. So now you have global martial law going on, and they are committing genocide on a level you can't even fathom. Cities are being blown up to contain disease. All of this is happening because the trigger was the global currency reset. That's what set it all off. That's the plan. So that should put Judy Byington's silly ridiculousness to bed because um, that's not going to happen. What's happening is the the order, the divine plan. At the top of the order, there was always one who was in control, and there was 154 plus people at that level, and that was the M1 level that everyone talks about. And that's the one level that controlled the world's assets, that took possession of every piece of the world's assets in 2007, then shut it off. And once they had the assets, the plan was to kill off the population and then take those assets off planet and just devour the resources of the planet like a parasite. That was the plan. But in 2012, their contracts expired, and the way that the quantum mapping system or the natural intelligence system, the way we affectionately call it, a way that it works, it would only recognize the DNA of the most human DNA on the planet, which is Kim Gogan, who is 99.8% bioidentical to the mitochondrion Eve. And in that, when she took control of the system, she learned for 2 years based on their behavior, and she thought that they were going to change their ways and rejuvenate humanity. And then she realized their entire plan was to kill and destroy humanity, steal the assets and resources. And at that level, though, that level of meetings, the Rothschilds weren't even invited because they were nothing more than head slaves. So, over a series of events, Kim redirected and transmuted that energy and decided, and this is what she said. She said, I was the one that said I would take humanity over all others. And she had the option to start over with a new humanity that wasn't brainwashed, wasn't mind controlled, wasn't filled with greed and hate and anger and disappointment, wasn't warmongering, hadn't been programmed to destroy ourselves. She had the option to go start brand new on a whole separate terra firma, and they took her there and gave her that option. And she chose you. She believes in you. Now, you tell me one of these jokers, one of these politicians, one of these gurus, one of these anything, any of these so-called leaders, name one of them who would make that decision with you if they had the option. Not one of them.
Well,
And so now
they
we're
haven't
on a
done it
different
all
path.
this time.
That's right. And now we are on a different path. And in this path, humanity is empowered to lead. Humanity is empowered to create. Humanity is empowered to reconnect with the planet, to remember who they are, to be rejuvenated, reborn, and live a life that is heroic and exemplary, to be exceptional, to be amazing. That is the world, and that's the foundation we're building from.
Indeed.
Indeed. Welcome.
Ratu Sueloma Loma.
Hey,
What's up, buddy?
how you guys doing? Hey, Dan.
Doing good. Thanks for
Okay.
joining us, Dewey.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. First, I'd just like to thank everyone. Thank you, guys. Thank people on the chat room. Thank you, the people who are watching live. Yeah, please. I see 177 people watching, but there's not so many likes on the show. If that can be the same as the like, it would be so good. And thank you so much. Peace and love. And
yeah, show your love. Give a like.
yeah, peace and love and blessings from Fiji. Yes.
I just want to know, I gave your information.
Well,
Telegram.
thank just.
I don't think you're hearing me. We might have a delay. I was just saying I gave your information on Telegram to a friend of mine. He's from.
Oh, okay.
He's from
That's good.
Koshai in the Micronesia island.
Yeah.
And so he'll probably contact you on how Koshai can get independence. You know, on from the island side of things, right? And so you can talk to.
Yeah, sick. That's good. Thank you.
I'll give you his information too in Telegram. But
Thank you.
Koshai's the Wi-Fi is not so good always. So, but anyway, it's you can definitely communicate by text, and maybe there's another app I sold him was less bandwidth to use, and I'll tell you about that as well. So how are things going on in Fiji?
Thank you. It's good. It's it's the way it's supposed to be going. It's Tank just laid out the whole 26,000 years just like that in just a few minutes, and so it brings us right here in this moment now that we're talking, and like I've mentioned on some of the past shows, that all the lessons that needs to be learned has been learned, and the work that it's supposed to be done now is being actually been done, and that's the reason why we're talking right now online, making YouTube videos, getting the awareness out to the people, setting just encouraging people that are already in the know to be able to understand and to be able to do more and see that it's a totally big picture, and because sometimes as the physical body simply just overwhelmed itself because of how small people would be able to see things. But when we talk like these thousands of miles apart, different countries, it creates a lot of energy, a lot of synergy to the whole thing that is happening right now. I was just yesterday I was talking to some of the chiefs in Hawaii, and today they are having that meeting, their sovereignty meeting. I will send some documents to them just to update them, because I think yesterday was the first time they've ever heard about the trust and the plan. And so to be able to get them to that state of awareness, to that level, it's a joy and they've fully understood some of the things that they're facing, because now they understand the root of what has happened, and I told them, if you cut down the root, we'll be able to do a lot of stuff. But if we all the branches and all the leaves, the root is still there, then this thing will continue for another 26,000 years. So that's why I'm thankful to to Kim. And right now, our government in Fiji, we're on a economic crisis, just like the US and the rest of the world that are facing right now, the liquidity crisis of the banks. They're reaching out to our something that is equivalent to your Social Security in the US. We have a National Provident Fund, and they are using that money. Now there's no more. This is a pension fund for the old retired people that was supposed to be, they're supposed to be paid out to them when they retire in the age of 65 and onwards. And just lately, the government has been using all that money, and because there's no more liquidity on the banks, and so right now we're gonna come across a national strike maybe next month. They made up a date on the 3rd of May to be able to do this national strike, and we'll see where we go on from there. And just by experiencing it, and I'm glad that it's actually happening, because in a way this draining out of the swamp that you may call, or drying out of the energy that used to power these systems for a very long time, and for they just like what I said yesterday, they've been asking questions on what's happening. Is it the government? Is it our economy? Is it the people? Or is it the way we run the economy? And I'm just smiling and thinking that there'll come a time that we'll come in and we'll talk about and we'll discuss with the government the way to the truth about what is actually happening. And give us a chance to work with the people, not the government, the people there, and the same people that yes.
Oh, see, there we have a big delay in the call.
So, yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, but we have a delay in the call. So I said tui, 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 and it took about 15 seconds for you to hear it. So I just want to say, since you have a date set for this event for the national strike, I'd like to add to what you said and say maybe it would be a good idea if the other island nations were to support you on those days with some sort of gathering on that particular day when you start that. So it would be more of recognition of what you're doing there from the other island nations. They don't have to have their own strike or anything like that, but if they show support on that particular day with by planning an event that's inter-island.
I understand.
Barbecue. Yep.
Yeah, no barbecue, whatever.
Sorry. I can't help it.
I guess from my side, from my point of view, we just wanted to see this through, and we wanted to learn. I want this to be a lesson to not just for people here in Fiji, but for the rest of the world. Because if we go through that, it will be an example of what might happen in the US when when Kim actually if Kim shuts down the money and the banks goes through the crisis, the liquidity crisis, what might happen, because right now it's totally unknown, because this might be the first time it's gonna be in this way, where they won't be able to find any way to resuscitate the economy. And so I wanted to, because we already talked with our Prime Minister in the past, last year, 2 years ago. I tried to tell him that this is going to happen, but they didn't listen. They go ahead with they go ahead with the elections, and they tried to rig the election, and then they got away with it, and they now in government again. So there are times that sometimes people just they just need to learn some lessons, especially leaders, because when something's when it changes in this manner, in like for example in Fiji, the national level changes. This has never happened before, and it will be. We wanted to see what the reaction is and who are they gonna try to get help from, or what are they gonna do. And then it will bring them down to a level that we can become just normal people together. So not in wearing their hats in governments trying to control everything about the place, but then just normal people who have the same have the same problem, same hardship, same, and then we can sit down and then we talk about it. And then it will give us a very good chance, like what Tank is saying. The people actually have the chance to actually talk and bring them down to a level where they can understand each other, and we can work together for these great change from one nation to another. We can study it anywhere. If we study here in Fiji, it will be simple. It will be very, very simple. Anywhere else in the world, it will be quite hard because of the grip of the old system. And so we wanted to see that, and so that's why I'm just waiting for Kim and the way she's gonna do her role and complete it. She's gonna try and work, and we'll give her space to do that. So as soon as everything is is in place, then we'll be able to walk from there. And if it takes longer, then we'll see the government and we'll actually learn the lesson of 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 how the economy will actually run. And yeah, so people are not getting paid. They are organizing strikes. The unions in our country. There are there are some companies that are already in strike. Some transportation company, the bus companies, in the airports, they're already in a strike. The people that like I was trying to say yesterday, they work for the terminal, and they control the control towers in our main airport, Nandi Airport, which controls all the plane in our airspace. And so they are actually on strike right now, and it's the beginning. And yeah, so the lessons needs to be learned sometimes, needs to be allowed, so that if when this comes in, and if we can sit down, sit together and talk, we will be able to do that efficiently. And if there's time that we'll be able to get in contact with Kim and work with what the trust has to provide, can be a sample. But like I said from the first time, as soon as these things begin, as soon as our change starts, the whole world will know about it. We will shout from here and make sure that everyone understands what is happening on the planet. Because right now they're trying to like shut everything down through the media and all this, so that it's unknown, so that nobody knows about it. But as soon as it happens here, we will make sure. We will shout and we will tell everyone all over the world what is happening to the true history about what's really happening. Because there's so many people out there that are still in the state of the illusions that has been given, like has been can I say, produced in front of them, and they're still so lost in it, and they think it's so real. Just like what Tank has just discussed. In Fiji, we'll have the chief who asking me, what about the religions and all this doctrine, the indoctrination and all this? I said, don't worry about that. No, when the money comes, that will be like 80 to 90% of questions that they will re-question their belief systems. They will re-question what is happening. There's a lot of them in a lot of religions, like Tank has just mentioned. They're waiting for that destruction, and where even here they're making assumption of, okay, the government is going down. As soon as there's another, because there's some churches, they believe that the Vatican will take over and will be in control of everything. They will change this and change that, and then I'm just hearing them, and I said, okay, you'll get a surprise for your life, because they're still expecting the resurrection and return of Christ in a physical manner, and so this, I know the Yeshua in the Bible and the families that they might be watching right now. I know that they are watching, and I've been trying to make them come out and tell the story, because it's just the beginning of the breaking of this facade or this illusion that has been more than 2,000 years of the making. And there's so many people that are still lost and still imprisoned by it, and they do not know that no one else imprisoned them, but it's just them, because of the way they don't understand how their body creates reality, and they're trying to reach out to the past, and they're trying to validate and believe in those past, and believe it so hard that they won't let it go, even they're living right now 2,000 years later, and the only thing that's real to them is this now, and they still clinch on, and they can fight and kill each other for it. This has to be broken down, and it has to begin somewhere, because if we don't start it somewhere, then it will be really hard to penetrate them, or to actually allow them to grow on their own, and really make them really remember their sovereignty. And which is I told the chiefs, it's gonna be fun, because there are some of them that came in with the same thing, and now they've changed, and they realized how powerful they are, and how how this new reality and how all this illusion has been. And for them it's true freedom. Jesus said that when the truth sets you free, you will be free indeed. You'll be free indeed, and nothing else in your past will be dragging you back, and you'll be able to create recreate the new future. And it's gonna be I know it's gonna be fun. Actually, I'm always full of joy when all these people come, all the chiefs comes in, and they're in that point where they're realizing the illusions, and then they can't believe it themselves that they've been so duped for so long, and they've been so believed it so hard, and now to be able to see, they looked at each other, and they see that they are free, and they realized that all these things has been in part of a very big agreement. I'm thankful for those that part. And this was like 2 years, 3 years ago, when they start getting to know about the original agreement. And the good thing about it was just because of like I've mentioned, Fiji has just gone through the system from the past 120 to 50 years. We haven't been in this system for more than thousands or 2,000 years, like the rest of the world. And so, it's really easy to turn everything back, because we used to live in that free, with no money, with nothing, just 150 years ago. So right now, when that comes back, I just tell them, yep, you just go back to the way you are, free, and nothing, and your love that is within you is totally free, and you're connected to the Manna, which is the land, and your relationship with it, and relationship with the planet, and this makes everyone sovereign. And that's the big reminder that we'll try and remind everyone on the planet to do. So as a people, you need to stand this time. No more getting lost in the illusions of the mind, and stand up and and create a new environment where others will be able to accelerate their remembrance of themselves and who they are, and their connection to the planet. And yeah, I'm actually thankful at this point, this time, that we are here at this moment. Kim is doing her role and doing whatever what she's supposed to be doing at this moment. As soon as she does that, the role will change, and that's how everything how everyone will also work. Right now, we are getting connected with the Kingdom of Hawaii, and soon they will reach out to Kim as well. And when they fully understand their role in this big creation of the new agreement. So everywhere in the world that people are listening in, how these change comes about in wherever you are, because you've been living there and you have that connection to that land that you are in, and together as one who will be able to do this, and it's like I said, the change has already begun. It's already begun. It's only in the mind. You don't have to change what's outside, and that's why I'm thankful. Thankful for you, Dan, and thankful for Tank, and the inspiration and the awareness, the wisdom, the love that you guys are both expressing, and we can we feel it here in Fiji. That's why we actually talking. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Tui. Thank you. And I will make a suggestion for you again. If you need to get information out in Fiji, do a video broadcast on YouTube, and then you can do a short 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes on something that's happening right then and there. And people subscribe, and when it happens, they'll get notification, and then you can.
Yeah, I was approached by one of the TV station a few days ago that wanted to actually do an interview because they've been watching the show and they've been talking about it. And I said to them, I know that's really enough for me right now. As soon as because there are certain people that needs to know it at this moment. I don't want the whole country to know it at one time, because right now it can cause a lot of confusion. It's just similar to overloading the economy, because if you overload the awareness with information that doesn't make sense to them, then they won't be able to accept it, and it'll become a negative thing to them, and it will take much longer for them to recover from it, because they will fully just go against it. So that's why we are using the Vanua, which is the land, the people, the native, and we are using that because from that point, from this perspective, everyone is much more understanding to what the Manna and sovereignty really means, and that's how we're gonna use that as it's the only way that it's gonna be done. Because if we go against, if we talk about it on national television or radio, there's a lot of people that still have the collective illusion of beliefs and religions and all that still so strongly rooted within their belief systems. And so we don't wanna we don't wanna cause that panic or that overload. We want the healing to be done in a very progressive kind of way. They have to progress slowly, and this is why the role for Kim is very important, because of the creation outside. Because as soon as they be able to see money outside of them, like the physical things outside, this is the physical creation. That's like 80 to 90% of what we're trying to tell them, because they will they will learn to question themselves and question what they are, and we'll just be there just to guide and not to do infringe or tell them what to do, or just let them know that this is the real that's why the economy in the world is going this way, and they will we don't underestimate any awareness or any spiritual essence of the fifth element. It will have its own time to reorganize itself and work with what the planet wants to do. And so it just the DNA just have this agreement of lessons that we have to go through, and how we like we said in terms of sailing, these uncharted waters, and so we have to manage it in a very, very careful kind of way, that it's not a negative thing, because if the help is not needed, people don't need that help, and you try to help them, you will get a negative effects from that help. Both of you will learn a negative lesson from it. But if the help is needed, then it will become a positive thing. And so right now, there's still a lot of them still lost in their illusion, and I just want to wait a while so that the illusion can break apart on its own, and people will be able to reconsider and reorganize and change, and I'm excited for that those moments. I don't want it to come to I want to share all the experiences. Yeah, go ahead.
When you're ready for help,
Yes.
I will help you broadcast and teach you what you need to know when you're ready. I don't want it to be a negative lesson. I teach the broadcasting.
Yes, indeed.
How to broadcast on YouTube. And then I want to also point out that Trump does tweeting to keep in touch with the people directly as to what to focus on. Look here, look here, look here. And this is something that you should also look at, as when you're ready to move forward, use the social media tools that are available so that you can reach people directly, and it pops up on their phone, right? And they can see it in their hand, and all this is happening right now, right now, right now. Keep everything in the moment. And yeah, and when you want to do your broadcast on when you go on TV, that's the time is the right time. But when you need help, I'm happy to help you. I do have a broadcaster training that I have on my bike rings.
Yes, that's true.
Usually, I do my bike. It's for.
Yeah.
I'll just show this to you.
Indeed.
So I have become a YouTube broadcaster on your own channel.
Indeed.
Right? And so you just click on into here. My link's down below, but here's what it covers down below here: how to get a quick start on broadcasting, how to do your own broadcast, music, attitude, content.
Nice.
Right? So anyway, so it's there if you're ready now. This is something that is so powerful a tool that we must take advantage and
yeah, nice.
And you should have you have 72 chiefs, you said, on Fiji. You should have 72 broadcasters, even if it's not the chiefs. Someone that's next to the chief can be like the reporter of like what's going on right there in the moment. And just like we're having a conversation, the important conversations that happen throughout the day, the other people get to know.
Yes.
We come together because we have the tools available to us.
Yeah.
So as long as it's good for people.
Yeah, sorry. Am I delaying again?
Yes, it's about 5-second delay. It's okay, don't worry. Just keep talking.
Is it sorry? Yeah, Dan. How we mentioned that we have our own roles, that we it's like yeah, and so the broadcast and all this, there's certain people that already have that role. They've been doing it for the past 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years, some of them even 40 years. They've already 40 to 60 years in Fiji. I just came in last year because it's my role, and so I am not I'm not here to to do the same thing that they were doing. I just right now I gathered all those people that were here in Fiji, all these different gifted people. You will get seers, the shamans, the certain the channelers. There's a lot of them around in Fiji, and so they've been talking and they've been doing all the awareness on their own because that was their role. So when I came in, my role is different. I organized all of them together, and that gives me the sovereignty to be able to be talking with you and to be representing the whole country and representing the land and the people. I'm not just doing this alone. No, I'm talking with you because this is my role, and to reach out to Kim. That was my role from my 12 tribes. So none of them will be able to do this because it's not their role. And I don't even have to worry about how this is going to be, how the rest of the country will be able to what's called broadcast it and all that, because there are other people that are doing that role right now. And so we've already come together, and we've recognized each other, and it was a beautiful experience getting to because some of them all their life they've been doing this, they've been chosen for it, it's part of their DNA. There's a family that the whole siblings, they've dedicated their life just to wait for this moment, and they've been singing songs, they've been making dances, they are well known in Fiji just because of what they were doing. And so the to actually broadcast it and all that, it's already. I just came in. The first time I've ever talked is July last year. That's the first time, because I was not allowed to actually say anything. I was not allowed to talk about my agreement, the RA Confederacy agreement. Even though I knew it from young, I had to stand and see all the illusions, and all the lessons that needs to be learned, and the country, coup after coup, problems after problems, not just here in Fiji, but all around the world. I had to stand and experience that, and from a perspective where I'm not, allowed to interfere, not allowed to say anything. And right now, I'm talking every day with all the chiefs and with all the elders, and they see the synchronicity with all the messages that has been happening for the past 100 years. And it's it's not a coincidence that I reached out to you to be connected with you, and to thank, and to be able to connect with Kim and the trust. It's just part of the big part of the big agreement, and it's very important for people to to actually fully realize their soul agreement and know exactly where they can fit in to the whole thing. And that's why I'm thankful that I'm talking with you and all this. Believe me, there's broadcasting, there's broadcast. People are talking, and there are people from my group that's their role to do that. To be able to, they're talking on social media, they have Instagram, they have followers, and they have all these things. And for me, mine is really simple. I just connect the whole entire country to the world through the trust.
Simple.
And that's my agreement. And so, yes.
Indeed.
Yeah, and so doing it with you guys is I'm thankful for this moment, for this experience, that to have a spiritual connection with you, Dan, and Tank, and and see the path that has been that you guys have been following, and all this. I've been like I said I've been following their Tank, and I've been even I've been following about the cryptocurrency and all the structures, the use, like how you use that the blockchain, how you use blockchains to and I always tell my chiefs, the most the most advanced blockchain is a human being. It has all the information about everything from now till the past, and and all the DNA has that. It's they're trying to follow what the natural fifth element of what that's how the fifth element works, and that's the natural intelligence of the whole entire universe. And people that, oh, we come up with these ideas. No, the most advanced things is already there. It's you. And if people can realize that, there is a lot of lesson that will be learned, and so I'm thankful.
Well, I'm thankful too. This is an amazing experience, for me. I'm just so in tune with this path. It's just making me so elated. Elated is the word that's always coming to mind. Yeah, let's see, the rooster agrees.
Indeed, elated indeed.
The rooster. All right.
sorry about the rooster.
No, we love the rooster,
He's
man.
just-
That's not even as the cock crows. We love that, man. Don't you apologize.
It's just that hour of the day that every time I'm talking, it's that same moment that they're around. And so if I'm talking without roosters, then I'm not home. So if I'm home, then that's what you're going to be hearing now and then. And
in
so
New York, when you come to New York, Tui, when you walk down the streets of New York, what's going to happen is all the horns are going to start honking here, because that's our nature. So
Yep.
it'll be a little different.
Yes, how diverse the planet is. It's that's why this is the most amazing experience that we are going through. This great unity. The Bible calls it the advantment. Getting this is what Christ means. Getting together, not just the spiritual aspect, but the physical aspect of everything, becoming one. And that's the lesson that we are all learning together as it comes. Things used to be think that are so different, but eventually they'll start to realize that it's all just a big jigsaw puzzle, and it's self-aware, and it has its own rhythm, and it's going to come together naturally. It's the way it's supposed to come in naturally. And there are variations of how it can be, how the different jigsaw puzzle expresses itself. But this is what the Christ, the embodiment means. And in the Bible, they used to do that celebration, the day of advantment, or the day of atonement. And this is the great day of atonement that as a collective we are coming together, and within coming together, all the lesson that we are all learning is it's the most important part of the experience that is what we are here to actually collect, and this the information that is needed. I've talked about how this information was lost in the future, and this is how it has to be gained, and how it has to be remembered in this way and get collected. And so all this has been entrusted to the trust, and to be given back, and as sovereignty, to be given back to the people, and the amount of time it will take, and the process that it will take, the experience that it will take, and the experience that people will try to remember themselves. It's a totally a very big holographic awareness organizing itself through time, and being here and being part of it, and also not just being part, but fully aware of it. I'm thankful for what's all happening. I thank you for everyone that is involved, everyone on the live chat, everyone watching, wherever you may be, whatever role that you have, or whatever role that you are actually doing right now. As we move forward, that role will become more and more clearer. There will be times the role will be changed, and you'll do something else, and other experience is the gift, and we must cherish that. And so I'm thankful. I'm always full of gratitude, love and blessing from Fiji.
Love and blessings from the Philippines.
Peace out from New York. We killing this? We good?
I think it's a good. Unless two of you would like to say goodbye for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah. Goodbye. I don't want to say goodbye because of the nature of that word goodbye. It's not a goodbye. It's a manda. English is so tricky. It's we're in commerce when we say goodbye.
Okay. Well, there's aloha, right? And,
Aloha. Yeah.
Mula.
Aloha.
Mula. Malo.
a friend of mine has actually sent me an article published, I think it was 1907, from the previous queen, monarch of Hawaii. That I should probably maybe tomorrow I'll start off with that and I'll read it. And it's basically it says how she came back from her journey to America when she was trying to stop them from taking over her country. She went to Congress, right? But they had already decided. They actually tried to do it as fast as possible before she arrived so that she could state her case for her own country. But it was too late. And when she came back, they basically had said aloha, they changed the pronunciation of the word, made a point to tell them that is not the word. Don't allow them to take our language too. Anyway, I'll read that tomorrow to get started. So for everyone else, have a good day. Please go ahead and like this broadcast. Go ahead and share it. And do what you can to do your own broadcasts. I did put the link down in the comment section. I'll add it also in the description for if you'd like to order broadcaster training. $150. There's also if you'd like to order $300 worth of TBC coin, that's also there on the site. There's a coupon for $150, so you end up getting broadcaster training for free. So anyway, we'll look forward to tomorrow. It's always getting more and more interesting, and everyone have a wonderful day or evening. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace out.